Apparently, Aaron Boone is going to stick around. We're wasting no time already on today's Locked On Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias, and with me as always is my producer, Steve Granado. Steve, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, Stace. Good to see you for our second episode of the offseason. We're rocking and rolling already. No baseball yesterday. Of course, baseball today. Thanks so much for clicking on the show. We're going to talk about the first games of the postseason. Of course, coming up later on in the show, we'll talk a little bit about the wild card. We're also going to give you our picks officially. Now that the bracket is complete, we will give you our big picks of World Series predictions. That's coming up later. Coming up in the second segment, Stacey, the Yankees aren't playing. We got to air some grievances. I'm doing a little wellness check on Stace today. See how they're doing. That's coming up later. But first, Stacey, we already have our first big news of the offseason. It is not 100% official, but this report coming from SNY and a writer I definitely trust in Andy Martino. I will leave this linked in the episode description as I always do. Came out with a report on Monday saying Yankees higher-ups will convene on Wednesday in Tampa for an autopsy of a season that GM Brian Cashman labeled a disaster and discussions on how to improve in 2024. Manager Aaron Boone will be included in those discussions because the team is not planning to fire him. Per league sources, Boone is expected back with the Yankees next season. Stacey, didn't take long for us to get news on the managerial front. Your reaction to Boone reportedly staying for 2024?
I mean, I'm not shocked, you know? I mean, I almost feel like the more shocking thing would be them firing him. I really do. I feel like if the season was more of a disaster, maybe. But the whole finishing above 500, staying in it until like the last week and a half, maybe saved his job.
Well, they did point in the article, which we also pointed out at the time, was how the glowing reviews of Aaron Judge may have helped out his cause. I think I said it at the time that even if you aren't in the camp that you don't think that it helped him, it certainly didn't hurt him. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking about how Aaron Judge has been speaking to the media about, I have some plans and I got ideas. He's real Dutch in Red Dead Redemption 2 of, I got a plan. We're going to go to Tahiti. I got a plan. I know you haven't played Red Dead 2, but I don't know, Stace. I fully anticipated Boone returning next season. I was like 90-10 in that regard, in that camp. Yeah. We asked Locked On YouTubers how they felt about this. Your options were I'm on board, I'm against it, and it's fine / whatever. And maybe this isn't surprising, Stacey. This is as of this recording. It'll fluctuate, obviously, but we see that our Locked On viewers just kind of stick on. The numbers don't change too much once we get around 50-plus votes. 46% as of this recording saying that they are against it. So nearly half of our viewership, here early returns, we posted this a couple hours before we started recording, are against it. Are you surprised at that, about half the viewership?
No, I'm not. I'm more surprised that it wasn't higher. I think because I feel like the third option, it's fine, whatever. I think some of the people kind of picked that because at this point you are like, fine, whatever, because we're just so tired from the season that it's not like one of those things where, yeah. And like, it's not like a pitchforks torches situation with Boone. Like I said, I mean, yes, it was a disaster of a year, but it wasn't so bad that he needed to get fired, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I know why people would want him to be fired, because you just want some sort of change to happen. And if that isn't the change, what's the change going to be? If they keep talking about, we have to make changes, well, what are they going to be at this point?
Yeah. Money, mouth, right? We talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
The It's Fine Whatever camp was 32%, Stace, and then 21% was I'm on board. So about a fifth of our viewership is on board with Aaron Boone. I felt like that might be a little higher. I would think maybe about 33%. I don't know. We'll see how the numbers ultimately all shake out by the end of the poll. But I I wanted to kind of go down the line here, Stacey, and do the devil's advocate thing. Do you have a defense of this move? Like, do you? I know you have your grievances. I know you've said on the show, you've put it pretty bluntly that the Yankees are never going to win with Aaron Boone in charge. You've said that on multiple occasions on this show. But in this regard, can you make the defense of keeping Aaron Boone?
Yes, because he's not the only problem, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like if they're going to change stuff, they would have to do a clean sweep, and they're never going to do that. So it's kind of like, all right, I guess he's going to get to stay kind of thing. But like you said, I feel like the Judge endorsement really helped him a lot.
I think in this regard, I'm just looking at the 2023 season only, solely 2023. If you had a different manager, let's say you had the greatest manager in the world that never made a mistake, right?
Mhm.
Let's say that. What's the Yankees' record at the end of the season?
Right, like maybe
85
like
wins?
I was going to say like
85?
maybe 5 wins better. Yeah. Yeah.
At max, right? And
Yeah.
yes, that might put them more closely into the discussion, but the glaring issues are still there.
Sure.
Right. There's not like as soon as you got rid of Boone, as everyone's screaming fire Boone, all of a sudden the Yankees are contending and the best in the East and like all this stuff. Like I don't subscribe to that part of it.
Right.
So I mean, I think generously, you said 5. I think that's pretty generous. Finishing with 87 wins. I think, there were, I can't think immediately off the top of my head, but I felt like there was like 3 games, maybe 4 games this season where I went, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And that played into the final score. I'm not going to say that was the only mistake, but
Right.
that played into the final score.
I
So
think of that one game where he took Domingo Germán out too soon against
Yes.
Cleveland.
yes,
That's the one
yes.
I really think of.
All right, 83
yeah.
and 79.
Right. Now
Now you're only 18 games back of first.
Yeah, like ooh.
So, but on the other hand, Stace, do you think Aaron Boone has not done a good enough job to not warrant this? Should he be let go at this point? We've seen it all. We did this conversation mid-season, but we also now have a full season to look at. Is it time to let him go? Are the Yankees making a mistake here?
No, I feel like this is the right decision. Like, as much as I feel like they're never going to win with him, there were so many issues this season, and it wasn't just him. I mean, I know people don't want to blame the injuries, but I mean, come on. If a team has 3/5 of the rotation out, loses their best hitter, and the one guy who was their best hitter, like, you know what I mean? They lose Judge for that long. They lose Rizzo, basically, because after he got injured, he was never the same again. And all these different things happening, guys leaving the team for certain issues and losing depth there. And yes, it was a roster construction problem, but I mean, I feel like it might be an instance where another manager, the team could have done worse than Aaron Boone did this year with everything that the Yankees went through. I mean, I'll give him some credit for that. I mean, he kind of kept the team together because it was a disaster.
Yeah, I think you're being a little fair there. There is a bit of an accountability issue, I feel, with this club too. We saw it a little bit there with Rodon at the end of the season. I think that was kind of the culmination of all of that. There isn't an iron fist. I think that's pretty clear. And hey, look, I'm not saying that's how it has to be. I'm just saying that is how it is. So, and, still in his defense a little bit here, if your captain is saying he likes you, that means he's got the clubhouse. And as soon as a manager loses the clubhouse, it's over. I don't care who it is. I don't care what the team is. Look at what's happened in Chicago over the last few years. I'm talking about the White Sox on the South Side. That has been clear that each manager that has had that position has no control of that clubhouse. And I don't think Aaron Boone's in that camp. I don't think that's the case at all. And just look at what Aaron Judge said.
Yeah. And you could see the way they all interact in the dugout as well. He definitely has control of the clubhouse, and you do need that aspect as a manager. It's probably the in-game stuff that annoys me more than anything, and annoys everyone more than anything. And you kind of hope by this point, he's been the manager since 2018. We're heading into 2024, and you want some of those mistakes, especially for a baseball lifer, to not happen as much. But yeah, like you said, it is a really bad sign when someone loses the clubhouse, and he hasn't done that yet. So that's why they're keeping him around, because he is a good players manager. Like, you need that with a team like the Yankees, where you have the veterans, you have the kids coming in, you have the big money stars, you have all these different personalities you have to wrangle together. And, he does do a good job of that.
Yeah. Let us know how you're feeling about it in the comments section down below here on YouTube. Of course, you can always subtext us, as well as a 14-day free trial in the episode description. While you're scrolling down to the comments, stop real quick and take a look at the episode description. You can text us one-on-one, which is a whole bunch of fun. We've been texting the subtexters already about those Aaron Boone stuff, so we've heard your feedback, and of course, it's kind of curtailing how the show goes as well. Just as a heads up, we are still 5 days a week here on Locked On Yankees, so hit subscribe. But this coming Friday, I forget the date. What is that, the 6th again? The 6th. There will not be an episode on October 6th. Almost said April 6th. October 6th. My brain is all over the place still. There will not be an episode on October 6th. We will return after a brief little 3-day weekend on Monday. So we still have episodes this week. It's just this 1 week that will not have 5 episodes, just as a heads up. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, it's October. The Yankees aren't playing. How do we feel about that? This episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs, it's the best place to buy men's shorts and pants that come with built-in underwear. Yes, I said that. You heard it. They use anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Hey, I'm on the West Coast. You guys already know that. Everydayers know that. And we're about to hit another heat wave, so I'll be rocking my Bird Dogs. I love them. They're super comfortable. They're versatile, and they're cheaper than other reputable brands. And, of course, Locked On Yankees listeners, you guys got the chance to get a free water bottle, which, hey, you could always use an extra water bottle when you place an order at birddogs.com. They have a ton of different stuff over there, styles, fits. You're definitely going to find something that's right for you. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter that promo code LockedOnMLB at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise. Back here on Locked On Yankees. Hey, everydayers out there. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Wednesday edition of Locked On Yankees, Aaron Judge, right before leaving Kauffman, talked about his big plans. Kind of in jest. Talked about some numbers and stuff. We're going to break that down on tomorrow's show, so make sure you hit subscribe and not miss that. Offseason, here we are. We're rocking and rolling. And we're in that offseason because the Yankees are not in the playoffs, Stacey. So I just wanted to test the water. I'm going to dip my toe in the pool. How you feeling? We haven't talked about this. Like, I know you've joked about it on the show. We've kind of joked about it in jest. And like, this team wasn't going anywhere. And we've kind of given up for a while. But now that it's actually here and games start tonight, Tuesday night, how you feeling? Like, is this weird for you?
It is weird. Yeah. Just to pull back the curtain a little bit for the audience, Locked On MLB, the group has their weekly meeting on Mondays. Not everyone joins the group meetings because it depends on the time of day when it happens, who shows up. But all of the people in the meeting had teams that aren't in the playoffs. And we were all just like, this is really weird. Like, especially for me and JD, the host of the Cardinals. I mean, he was joking. He's like, we knew by June that we had no shot of doing anything. He's just like, but I'm not used to having an off season this early when doing the show. This feels really strange. And I know I joked about, I'm going to have a stress-free October. And I will, but I'll still be slightly stressed because we're going to go into it in segment 3. But, I'm going to pick teams to pull for. So I'm going to feel a little bit of stress if they don't do what I want them to do. But it's not going to be the same level as, watching the Yankees and covering the Yankees. And, I'm all right with it, I guess. It's weird. It is weird. I'm kind of uncomfortable with it right now. It doesn't feel right. for me.
Yeah, I mean, you know my backstory, and you know, I feel like a lot of everydayers know. You guys have been watching the show for a while, which we appreciate, and I've tried to be as open as possible on the show and as candid as possible on the show. So this is now year 2 of me really following the Yankees, right? Because I was with the Rail Riders last season, so obviously I was keeping tabs on the Yankees 24/7 and keeping tabs on the minors 24/7. So I finger on the pulse for sure last season. And like, as we were watching last season unfold, from the minor league side, it was super clear how deep and how talented they were at the first half of the season, right? It was just ridiculous. And we're watching Aaron Judge from afar. Obviously, we can't watch because we are watching another game at the exact same time. But, we're keeping tabs on it. We're watching on Mondays when we have off days and stuff like that. So it was really the first time that I had been on that side of the coin. I'd always been on the other side of, those damn Yankees, that side. I had never been a Yankee hater, to be fair. Like, I want to make sure, I think I said that on the show, but I've never been a guy that was just like hated the Yankees. And so now that we're on this side of it, I feel semi-responsible. I'm like, oh, the second you jump into the train here, the train goes off the tracks. So it feels odd for me. I feel like I brought some of the Angels' bad luck to the East Coast. So I do bear some responsibility there.
How dare you?
I know. I really blew it. That's all my fault. That's one of the other issues. Is Brian Cashman going to fire Steve Granado from Locked On Yankees? We'll drop a YouTube poll on that too. But Stace, look, there's pros and cons to everything that happens in life. And I think there are some pros to this. Namely, for me, it's a humbling experience, I think, for the Yankees organization to be in your face with it and give you a reality check that you aren't the big bad Yankees. I think that's important to kind of get knocked on your butt sometimes. Yeah. Just in life in general. You need to get knocked down to get back up sometimes. You can't always be on top. So I think that's good. And another side of it, I think, is good for health reasons. And the Yankees were so banged up this year, they now get an extra month off. So it doesn't hurt to rest a little bit longer. Guys, Michael King was talking about it in his post-game presser on Sunday on how he's like, oh, cool. Now I don't have to worry about taking the full month off that I normally like to and feel like I can build back up now that I'm a starter. I can build back at a pace that's more comfortable for me. So there are some pros here in this situation.
Sure. Yeah, it is, because it's so funny. I had written a script for MLB about spring training and about how years ago guys would just show up to spring training out of shape because spring training was to train for the season, where now these guys are starting to train literally like days after the World Series ends, and they don't really have an off season. If you're in the playoffs, you're basically starting again like the second week of November, third week of November. And at least when your season ends and you don't have playoffs, you can actually like relax a little bit. Yeah. And take some time to actually just decompress from everything. I mean, I know there are probably some guys who don't want to do that because they want to kind of like stay in everything. But I feel like some of these guys needed this time off, and it's actually better for them.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see this week, like all these dudes are going to be headed to the beach and like doing all that stuff and seeing family and like doing all like the human stuff right now, right? Like that's what this time is for. And you'll see that for about 4 to 6 weeks. You'll see guys by Thanksgiving, they're back. Oh yeah. They'll obviously do the Thanksgiving stuff, but like they're back to like hitting off the tee and running. Like you'll see some guys that completely veg out at this point of the year, which I think is completely warranted. But you'll also see some guys that just stay active. A lot of golfing and not necessarily throwing the ball around, but maybe throwing a football around and just like those kind of just staying active and staying healthy in that regard. So, but that's light years different than waking up every morning, getting to the cage, doing your tee work, going and playing long toss, and then taking grounders, taking fly ball. Like that's completely different physically. So again, I feel like that's a bit of a pro. The cons here, though, Stacey, like there are cons. The obvious one, the elephant here. You're not playing right now. Like this is the whole thing. This is the whole point, is to play right now, and you're not playing.
You play 162 games to make it to the playoffs, and if you don't do that, it's like, what was the point of putting myself through that grind and not making it to at least the playoffs? Ugh, yeah. Especially, for a team like the Yankees who expect to make it most of the time. Like, I know I've said it 500 times, but this is literally only the fifth time they haven't made the playoffs in years that there have been playoffs. We're not counting 94. Since I was in high school or like early college that they've missed the playoffs only 5 times. I'm turning 50 in 2024. Like that's an insane amount of times for them to actually make the playoffs. And, we talked about the above 500 streak also. In our meeting on Monday, Ben from Locked On Giants was like, that's insane to me. He's like, I've only been alive 34 years. He's like, since I'm 3 years old, the Yankees have been above 500 every season. He's like, that's just crazy. But yeah, it's like you play for that. That's what,
Yeah, it's different, man. It's
Yeah.
lifelong memory stuff, man. It's what everyone lived. Like I'm gonna be real with you, man. It's like what I live for, man. Like this is the time of year I thrive. This is where I'm glued to the TV.
I used to get mad at people if I got wedding invitations for October. I'm like, what are you doing? The baseball playoffs are on. Like, you expect me to be at and pay attention at a wedding? Like, you know how many
Full disclosure, Stace. I was at a wedding on the USA comeback against Colombia or Venezuela, that game, the semis. And today, Tuesday, I have Ducks preseason tickets. And I'm like, but it's the first game of the wild card. And I'm like, and I'm going to be watching on my phone, Like, it's the time of year, man. This is the best part of the year. I love it. I love it. Basketball comes back and hockey's gearing up. And then postseason baseball, man. It's October. October's the best month of the year, and
it really
it
is.
sucks to not be a part of it. It sucks.
It does.
Let us know how you're feeling down below. We're going to talk about October baseball when we come back.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. We're into it. Things are happening. The Giants and the Jets, the Bills. So if you want to bet on any of those teams, if you're a true New Yorker, the app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Back here on Locked On Yankees, Stacey, the postseason starts today, and I was just, gearing up for it a second ago, going like, I'm going to be sitting at crypto.com. It's Ducks Kings, the game. I'm going out to Staples.
Is that what the place is called?
Yeah, crypto.com arena out in Los Angeles, downtown LA, so I'm going to head out there. But I'm going to have my phone, like, ready to roll. Like, I intermission, I'm like, all right, let's go to the bar. Let's go watch this game.
Yeah.
We'll have a couple of games get underway, Stacey. The wild card series starts today. How you feeling? Like, again, you were talking about how the Yankees aren't in it, but like, are you excited for this postseason? Because like this year feels really weird to me because obviously I follow the Angels still. Obviously, I'm all in on the Yankees here. So like baseball, weirdly enough, in my brain has kind of been like over for like a month. Like that's kind of how it feels, weirdly enough. And now I have to be like, oh, postseason baseball, let's go.
Yeah. No, I do. It's weird. Like the years that they're not in, I enjoy them. It's the years that they get knocked out that I don't feel like watching the rounds after that. So I'm kind of excited that I just get to sit here and watch baseball and not have to like be stressed out about it and just enjoy the game of baseball, really, and watch all these different teams. There's some teams in the playoffs that I kind of know about, but I don't know that much about, like, especially on the National League side. No offense, but like the Brewers, the Marlins, like those two teams especially. I know some of the players, but I don't know that many. So it'll be kind of cool to watch them play. Obviously, I know the American League side very well. So that's not going to be one of those games where I'm like, oh, I didn't realize he played for them. That's probably what's going to happen with the Brewers and the Marlins.
Yeah. So I wanted to go through all the first round matchups here, Stace, and we don't have to, dilly too long on each of them, but I wanted to give you the chance to make a pick, and I'll take a pick as well. of each round. So let's just go ahead and start. First, Rangers versus Rays. Stace, this is kind of an exciting one. Who are you picking in the wild card set? Of course, Texas has to play now because they ended up losing the West. So Texas versus Tampa Bay, 3-game series. What do you think? Who are you picking?
Ooh, it's like offense against pitching.
Yeah.
I feel like Tampa can do it. I feel like Tampa might win this one. I feel like
Tampa has a better bullpen here than Texas does, and I feel like that's going to come into play.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm like, I feel like Texas's bullpen is going to kind of explode there because they have many times, and I feel like in the playoffs that's just going to spell disaster, especially in a very short series.
Blue Jays Twins, Stacey. Who you picking? Blue Jays versus Twins.
Blue Jays. With that pitching, I mean, I know the Twins have pitching as well, but I feel like it's the same thing all the time with the AL Central. Whatever team comes out of there, especially if it's the Twins, they just get beaten up by the AL East team that plays them. I feel like the Jays are going to win this.
I want to play the fun here. I like the Twins a little bit. I like the Twins.
I would like that for that to happen. It would be great.
I don't think they would beat Houston in a the DS is it 5 still? I forget how they format this now. Yeah, so the DS is 5.
3-5-7.
3-5-7. Thank you. 3-5-7-7.
Yeah.
I don't think they could get past Houston in a 5-gamer, but I don't dislike Minnesota. They're kind of riding a little hot here.
Yeah.
Royce Lewis coming back, and like this. If Carlos Correa is healthy, like I know that's a sin of a name to say on the show, but like. Pablo Lopez, like this Sonny Gray, like there's some stuff going on in Minnesota that doesn't get really talked about a lot. So
I wouldn't be surprised, but
it's just 3 games, man. It's just 3 games.
That's true.
So I'm gonna go Twins. Twins. D-backs Brewers, Stace. I'm on board here for the D-backs. I really like the D-backs. I really like their young core here. I just really, I love Gabriel Moreno. I really liked him with Buffalo last season. He was one of like the shining spots last season in the International League that I got a chance to watch, and he blossomed this year for the D-backs. I'm all in on the desert here. I know the Brewers could totally win this series, but I like to pick the fun team here, and I like D-backs.
Well, I feel like the Brewers are kind of in trouble now with Woodruff being injured and out, so I feel like the Diamondbacks might be the 6th seed to sneak in and beat them. Yeah,
it'd be fun to see an NL West showdown in the second round, the NLDS with the Dodgers. And then our last matchup here, Marlins Phils. I think I like the Marlins. I don't know if they, to steal a phrase, got that dog in them right now.
Yeah.
Phils riding high, and I think the Phils look primed to at least get to the NLDS.
I think so too. I feel like out of those two teams, the Phillies have the better chance of actually getting past Atlanta also. Atlanta's really good, but 5-game series are also kind of where you don't necessarily win if you're the stronger team. Like one screw up and you're like, because it's only 5 games. And I feel like the Phillies have a better chance of advancing. And I feel like they can beat the Marlins because the Marlins, what did they say? They scored the least amount of runs of any playoff team ever, or something weird like that.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah, I saw that on Twitter on Monday, and and the Phillies are just one of those teams where they get fired up, and you could see them in the World Series again. You never know.
All right, it's Judgment Day. Stace, I need your World Series pick and your World Series winner.
Ooh, okay.
So who are the 2 teams? Give me the AL and NL champs, and who wins it all.
I'm going Orioles, Phillies, with the Orioles winning.
Wow, that's bringing back bold predictions, Stace. Bringing back bold predictions. Sheesh. I'd be so hard pressed not to pick Atlanta. It feels so
destined,
sacrilegious to not pick Atlanta. I think the Dodgers lose in the NLCS to Atlanta. Atlanta moves on. It'll be Tampa, Atlanta. I feel like Tampa goes on a run.
Ooh.
And despite everything the Rays went through this season, the Tampa Bay Rays upset the Atlanta Braves in the 2023 World Series. And they finally get the ring.
Oh, interesting.
Like this is the team you didn't think would do it.
Right.
So they started out red hot, got all the injuries in the world, got the Wander situation, and they persevere through it all. I say Tampa takes down Atlanta, World Series champs 2023.
See, I feel like it's going to be the Orioles, who no one expected to win the AL East, and doing it 40 years after the last time they did it.
There's a lot of good storylines. There always is. I mean, it's October baseball. Give us your World Series matchup and your World Series pick in the comments section. And that's going to do it here for today. Don't forget, tomorrow, Aaron Judge, he's got the big grand plan. He's got the whole wide world in his hand. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to detail out what he said after the last game of the year. And that's going to do it for today's Locked On Yankees. I'm Steve Granado.
And I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. We'll see you tomorrow.